Hello, Baron Dipitous here. This video will be basically a read-through of the entire kinetic novel for Brawlhalla Battle Pass Season 9. Now, of course, I have made a video for every single chapter individually, and that all included my theorizing and everything like that. But I thought it would be good to have just one video that reads through the entire thing without theorizing and the like. So that's what this video is. So if all you wanted is just the story and nothing else, none of my like rambling about what it all means and things like that, then this is the right place. So sit back, relax, and let's enjoy the full complete story from beginning to end of Brawlhalla Battle Pass Season 9, Apocalypse. Chapter 1, Story of the End. Few stories remain from before the sundering of the earth and the rending of the mountains by the apocalypse. Though those left behind, orphans of a broken world, had lost everything they had known, one last story remains, solemnly endowed and recounted to the children of every succeeding generation. A story that all who live know as the remnant truth of the world as it were. The four greatest champions from across the land, bearing interlocking crests, were to summit the Vanguard Mountains in the east. The greatest warrior among them would be chosen by the will of the gods, knower of truth. Then they would be charged with the duty of unlocking the blessed gates and bestow unto the land bountiful divine favors from the gods themselves. And so the world united and sent forth their greatest four, all brave, valiant, and noble legends in their own right, to conquer the mountains of trial and tribulation, to bring glory to all the people of the realm. Or so they thought. As all the people of this cursed world would come to know, even the greatest warriors were not beyond sin. No one knows for sure what could have happened, but as the great maelstroms descended upon the land, blotting out the sun and skies, so it seemed the knower of truth, the betrayer, had been seized with a lust for power, a gluttonous pride, and a vile fit of deceit. They rejected their duty, shattered the crest, felled the other champions, and refused to open the blessed gates. And so the betrayer initiated the great unbecoming. The Vanguard Mountains went first, shattering in the blazes of molten fury that erupted from every rock and crevice. They were consumed by the unrelenting storms. Then cities of the east went next, swallowed by the horrible, horrible dark. As the skies bled red, hails of divine punishment rained upon the land, piercing into the land and turning the once rich soil to ash, and leveling those great cities to dust. Great plague, famine, war, and death followed in the chaos. Eons lost to time, known only as the Dark Days. The dark winds had taken half the continent before its deadly procession halted at the feet of the Ikrusk Mountains. Though the vile stench of the corrupt gales still travel upon the easterly winds of even to this day, the greater maelstrom itself seemed to refuse to encroach upon the earth any further from the ravaged lands. So it seemed that the gods had finally ceased their punishment. The people remaining scrounged what they had, rebuilt what they could, and made peace with what peace could be had. From the ashes, great leaders, sages, and beasts were born. Though life had not returned to what it had been before, an uneasy truce seemed to hang in the balance between the apocalypse that had left the world unmade and the people left to scavenge what was left. Mothers say to their children that the howling winds of the west are the weeping regrets of the betrayer, a story to instill a great fear of what becomes of troublemakers. The elders say that the maelstrom merely sleeps, and that the apocalypse was no act of the gods, but of the betrayer, who still lurks in the heart of the storm, biding their time to continue their treacherous march. They speak of a new champion, The true legend of the people who, in time, must conquer the betrayer and open the blessed gates, as it was once ordained. Few dare venture outside the village of their birth. Even fewer dare question the last remaining story of the world before. But I will be the one to find the truth behind the beginning of the end. Chapter 2. Wings of Mercy. As the sky darkens, thunder drums in the distance. As soothing as the gentle rumbling is, all I can feel is a nervous urgency. The taste of the air is sour and thick, clinging to the back of my throat with its sickening stench. Acid rain. Just my luck. As I run along the worn dirt path, I squint at a faint shadow peeking over the hills in the distance. Just as I crest the rise, I can spot the spiraling steeple of the Cathedral of the Savior. A sense of dread sets in my stomach. The sight of the steeple alone isn't enough to decipher which sect of the Wings of Mercy occupy it. Not that I have much of a choice, or if I wanted to plead for shelter from the rain. Sure hope these are the merciful life type, and not the merciful death type. Menacing statues of hooded, faceless, winged figures stand solemnly at the gates, greeting me with a welcome as warm as a funeral procession. A shiver goes up my spine, but I need to push forward. I stride into the settlement, my footsteps sending loose pebbles clattering across the cobblestone. Several priestesses, clad in woolen black robes, turn to look in my direction. Their masks, engraved with a variant of the inverted emblem of life, may conceal their vision, but I can still feel their stares boring into me as they begin to whisper to one another. Their grim visage confirms the worst of my suspicions. No one looks for the death-touched sect of the Wings of Mercy, after all. They look for you. But here I am, a wayward traveler, stumbling into the heart of a cult to ask for shelter. Forgive my intrusion. The air is rank with the poison from the east, and the weather is quite unfavorable for my travel. Is there somewhere in town where I may take shelter while I wait for the rains to pass? The priestesses wordlessly part, as one of their ranks breaks away and holds her arms outstretched, mirroring the statues that loom over the square. The priestess that steps forward has robes trimmed in a dusty lilac, a simple decoration on her garb that none other of the other priestesses had. Around her waist and twisted around her body is a coil of rope darker than the night sky. The most notable feature of her appearance, however, is the emblem of life that floated above her head, following her every step and movement. Its presence demands respect, as if she had been delicately crowned by some higher deity. A divine testament to the authority she commands in her faith. Bad news. Fair traveler, we of the Wings of Mercy welcome you to our humble settlement. While we only permit adherents of our faith to cross the holy threshold of the Cathedral of the Savior, you may shelter in the nearby pavilion in the gardens. She motions toward a small pathway surrounded by well-maintained bushes adorned with black roses. It was almost beautiful, were it not for the sharpened thorns that stuck out like quills of a wild porcupine. Thank you. I will trouble you no further, and I will depart as soon as the clouds part. Unfortunately, my hasty retreat is swiftly cut off by the priestess. Her robes flutter in the breeze as she continues to hold her arms out towards me. She smiles wanly at me. Oh, please come with us. We would not want to be inhospitable. We rarely get guests as it is. It would be unbecoming of us to leave you alone during the rains. Of course. The High Priestess flicks a hand back to the other priestesses, motioning for them to leave. Not even a heartbeat passes before the square is cleared. Not even a single indication of another soul remains. She glides down the garden path, effortlessly avoiding the thorns. I, not nearly as gracefully, follow her down the winding path behind the cathedral until I step into the gazebo. The posts of the gazebo have been carefully finished. giving the dark wood a vibrant shine even in the dim light. More of the faceless winged figures have been carved into the braces. They stare down at me with their arms held out as if to engulf me in their embrace. I pretend to study the craftsmanship of one of the figures. I can feel the High Priestess also glaring at me. We stand in silence as the rain begins to patter upon the shingles, then pour. Tell me, traveler, why have you ventured from your village? No person with good sense goes towards the east unless they seek salvation with us, or an untimely demise. Do you mean to cause trouble? Though I doubt even that. You do not look like one of the heretics, else you would have tried to cut me down already. I have no quarrel with your death-touched sect. I am an ordinary traveler, and I merely ask for safe passage through your territory. We will choose to ignore the usage of that insulting term for the time being. We can clearly see the glowing thing above your head, you know. It's pretty evident to us, and just about everyone else, that you're no ordinary traveler. We do not recognize it, however. What god do you serve? The heretics may speak in lies, but they do it under the guise of our Savior, and what you have is no known symbol of our faith. I believe in the common gods of the land, not the Savior. But I don't know about the emblem. It appeared above my head as soon as I resolved to travel to the ravaged lands. The ravaged lands? Fair traveler, we speak with nothing but respect. But that is, simply put, inadvisable. And insane. You've heard the stories of the end, I'm sure. I don't mean to entirely reject them, but the truth has surely been twisted. Should we not question the old stories just because our elders say they are true? It's a truth I mean to find out for myself. This is my mission, this is my charge. I will not be swayed. If you truly mean to throw your life away, then listen to our sermon at the very least. Grant us that time of day before you run to those broken peaks, chasing ghosts, crumble to dust, and perish, forgotten to all. All right. The Savior descended upon our people in the aftermath of the Great Unbecoming. They bestowed upon us these tenets of which we have built our philosophy and belief. Our continued existence inherently has no meaning. Nothing that happens, good or bad, has been determined. The world we inhabit is inherently indifferent to whether or not we exist. You ascribe this death-touched sect label to us, but perhaps the words of the heretics and non-believers have misguided you. We are the true single wings of mercy. We reject those who believe in the concept of a merciful death. Living itself is not something that needs to have the mercy of death delivered unto it. Yes, there is no higher purpose to living. Therefore, we live, and we must live to create meaning for ourselves. We continue living because we create achievement, purpose, and reason. There is no higher purpose ordained for us. We are self-guided. We are agents of our own fate. In life we encounter all kinds of troubles and woes, and all manner of brilliant joys and happiness. Therefore, we live, and we must continue to live with vigor and determination. There is no such concept as fate. What we accomplish is up to us. We may not be in control of what others do or what happens to us, but we make the most of it. The world does not care for us just because we live. We must make it care for us. The people we know and love care for us because we have made them care for us, whether it be through acts of kindness, companionship, or shared suffering. Then, if nothing in living inherently means anything, why should we not be determined to live a life worth living for ourselves and those around us? We did not ask to live or be born into this broken world, yet here we were. And we continue to go on. And we must. For if you have lived a worthwhile life, when you breathe your last breath, perhaps then the embrace of death will no longer be such a cruel one. That, in itself, is what it means to live a merciful life. I will admit I had the wrong impression of your faith. At least, which denomination you were. I don't know if your words will matter at the end of the day. I don't think my path is one that can be changed. But thanks. The rain is clearing up. May the Savior grace your path, fair traveler. Chapter 3. The Wanderer. The parting words of the High Priestess linger in my mind even days later. To live a life worth living. Is this journey a mistake, then? A fool's errand? A self-destructive march toward the truth that was already known? Is that it? Perhaps I should have stayed with the Wings of Mercy a little longer, if only to have someone to sort out my thoughts with. I look at the darkened, swirling plumes of dust spiraling far off in the horizon. A pit drops in my stomach as I watch flying shrapnel shear off a mountain face. It is seconds later that the deafening sound finally reaches me. A fierce crackling resounds all around me, as if the sky had shattered and crumbled to the earth. Fine. This jaunt towards devastation incarnate is admittedly foolish, especially at having obliterated half the continent. As if to feed my doubts, a sky-high feather of flames and ash plume into the skies from the maelstrom's wall. Maybe the High Priestess had a point. However brave of a face I had put on at the time, her words had shaken me. But I can't turn back now. No, this burden of curiosity is my weight to carry, and mine alone. I had to press on. A gravelly rasp interrupts my thoughts as I see a figure emerge from the side of the road. Hey, you-hoo, cheerio, hello, hi, buddy. You're not clever, thinking you can skip away from me, or closing your eyes to pretend you don't see me for that matter. What's got you in such a big rush? You know it's quite rude to scuttle on by without acknowledging a fellow traveler. No nod, no wimpy wave, not even a passing grimace, like the ones you people do when you don't care to actually say hello. I don't even deserve that, I just get nothing. Oh, how you wound me. Manners must have gone up in smoke with the other half of the population. Let's try this again from the top. Leaning against a nearby broken post is a tall and spindly insect man, his skeletal wings tidily folded at his side. His confident demeanor mimics that of a boisterous merchant, but his ragged, stained clothing hardly seems to suit the airs he puts on. His eyes seem to glow, fixating on me intensely. He crosses both sets of arms in faux disappointment before flaring them out once more as if taking a bow. He tilts his head expectantly, as if waiting for my reply, yet he starts speaking before I can. Do you get a lot of comments about the whole glowy symbol thing on your head? Makes you stand out a bit, doesn't it? You and one other. But, pardon me, is there something you need? I need to get going. Playing dumb? Trying to run away again? You're wasting your time. I know exactly what kind of person you are. I can see it plain and clear. Real rebellious streak, huh? Think you're hot stuff because you see a big old swirly hurricane of death and destruction and think, sick, a challenge. Once I charge right in, I'll finally think my life has meaning. Listen, I've seen this story 1,000 times. Your type always thinks they're tougher than a bit of rain or stronger than the mutant wildlife. Big surprise when they come back up the road screaming all the way back home. That is, if they are even still alive. For the average knucklehead, that'd be a good enough reason to flee and save what pride they had left. Of course, they'd never succeed. You're probably so terrified you can hardly resist the urge to turn around. Just run away back home to your loving, ignorant family. But I'm not going to let you do that. I see real potential in you. No, I don't need anything, thanks for asking, but I think you need me. I can be your guide. Here on this lonely road. Just what you needed, yes? Thank you, but I think I'll have to pass. This journey is mine alone. I cannot allow anyone to risk their lives for my sake, and I'm not interested in risking my life for theirs. I appreciate your offer, though. I don't think you understand. I'm going to be coming along. As it turns out, there is something I need. A good show, and this is gonna be good. His unfurled wings seem to breathe on their own, a faint glow emanating with every small movement. A dangerous, wild glint shines in the stranger's eyes. The show of intimidation doesn't waver my resolve, however. Irritation is not an emotion that I allow myself to hold on to, but this pest was truly putting my willpower to the test. Listen, I mean this with all due respect, but my patience is wearing thin. This was meant to be a one-off encounter. I'm sorry I didn't greet you. I meant no disrespect. Truly. Though now I wish I had. But now, not only have you insulted me, you also invited yourself to join me for your own entertainment's sake in the same breath? Are you not embarrassed by your own behavior? Do you just talk for the sake of hearing your own voice? Are you always like this? Yes. Fine, I'll ease up on the jabs. Wouldn't be a sustainable relationship if you wanted to punt me off a cliff in my sleep. Not that at work, mind you, I'm a very light sleeper. Pray tell, if someone so certain of himself, do you have any idea where you are even going? I have been following the road eastward. That's a no. Alright, let me map things out for you. You'll want to head to the Icarus Mountains, due east. Nestled in its heart is a massive fortress. Can't miss it, given that it takes up a whole mountain. Big old palace, great food, terrible people. Speaking of whom, ever heard of the Emperor? Huh? You don't know the Emperor? The warmonger? The one who crusades all across the realm and claims to know all there is to know about the world? This doesn't ring a bell? How is this also a no? You're a fool and a village bumpkin too? Merciful death, take me now. No matter. You'll find out soon enough. That city takes in all manner of refugees and wayward souls. Great way to build the populace and really buff up those census numbers. Helps with the propaganda too, I'm sure. Claim asylum and the guards will let you through. Make up a real tearjerker of a backstory. Really get those waterworks going. They might even slip you some bonus coin too. Then I want you to commit a crime. Break a law, anyone is fine. What? Why would I ever do that? If you want to go by the books and actually try to schedule something, be my guest. But you'll be waiting for months. My method gets you an audience with the big cheese real quick. No time for visitors, always time for personally punishing criminals, you see? Very effective strategy for instilling fear, and for those with the right palate, it's great entertainment too. That city has loads of stupid rules. You'll break one whether you like it or not. My personal favorite method is a colorful insult. I can help you think of one if you'd like. I'm very good. This is ridiculous. I'll see the city myself and figure something out. I won't resort to such crude methods. So I'll get to meet the leader. Then what? What does the warmonger know of the apocalypse? A little bird once told me that the city is in possession of one of the 4 interlocking crests from the old stories you hold so dear. The crests? I thought they had been lost forever, shattered by the betrayer. Isn't the whole point of this little quest of yours to find out the truth? Well, you heard it from me first. The crests are still out there. Talk to the Emperor. See if you can pry that old trinket away. I will say that there's a hefty price to pay for an artifact like that, though. No price is too heavy for the truth. If your words are true, then it is possible that the blessed gates can still be opened. Fine, you may accompany me in my journey to the Icarus Mountains. But do not get in my way or your good show is over. Lovely. I'm so glad we're finally on the same page. I look forward to our little journey. I'm positively giddy with excitement. Before I forget, I never introduced myself. Where are my manners? I go by many names and am known by the world by countless more. But you may call me the Wanderer. Chapter 4. Stupid Rules. We're almost there. Just past these trees cuts the ridge, and we'll be overlooking Fort Havershant in all its glory. Ah, so that's its name. I've been wondering why you avoided speaking its name. Fort Havershant. It's a bit of a mouthful. Stuffy, too. Oh, trust me, you don't know the half of it. Place used to have a nicer name before it was conquered. Now it's been personalized. You may think my ego's bad, but the Emperor is much, much worse. Even makes me look humble. You're in for a real treat. Worse? He's worse? Gods of this hallowed realm, forgive me, for I have surely sinned in your holy dominion to be punished this way. Praying now? Save it for later. We haven't even gotten you an audience with the big oaf yet. You really need some divine intervention then. Get a good look at the place right up ahead. This is the grand city of the Emperor? It looks like... Yes, I know. It looks like a spaceship. It's heinous. A what? It's supposed to be modeled after our great king's past, but with a modern, edgy twist, befitting an emperor lord of all things. Supposedly. No one dares question a great emperor lord of all things on architectural choices, even if the blueprints are half-baked delusions of a megalomaniac. Maintaining one's image is skin deep, but a lack of taste goes down to the bone. Not that you have much taste in the way of fashion either. With the fort in sight, the Wanderer and I make haste. Despite the looming shadows of the perpetual storm in the horizon, the land itself was surprisingly vibrant and lush. Patches of flowers sprouted all along the rolling meadows. There is something remarkable about the flower that still blooms despite the sun being blotted from the skies for 3/4 of the year. Its only sustenance poison from the skies. This realm had been cursed to a state of half-death, yet even the unconscious being still yearned to live, endured. Ruinous as things may be, there was still life. If not the rest of the world, then at least the flowers would. We passed the meadows and approached an impossibly wide flight of dark stone stairs, clearly cleaved from the mountainside itself with skillful craftsmanship. Hope you don't mind a little exercise. They're designed to wear you out by the time you reach the top. You know, so people asking for help can look the part, too. That's why it's so tall, so imposing, so impossibly steep. Personal touch by the Emperor. Very devilishly clever, I'll give him that. What a cruel joke. The sun will rise and set by the time we reach the top. I don't look forward to listening to your jabber the whole climb, either. Is that a sense of humor I detect? You're funny. I'd never climb. I have wings, see? That means I can fly. I'd never stoop so low as to walk the whole thing. That's an endeavor you'll have to manage alone, thank you. I'll see you at the top. You'll have all the time in the world to think of a fantastic story to explain yourself to the guards. If I don't see you by the time the sun sets, I'll make one up myself. Half points off if you make me do anything. I look forward to a magnificent performance. Ta-ta now. The Wanderer's wings unfold with a brilliant flash of green. He braces himself for but an instant before he flits into the fog, leaving behind a spiraling flakes of neon dust in his wake. With a deep sigh, alone again, I begin my ascent. I am used to strenuous labor. For years I had trained my body to handle significant feats of endurance and strength. I am not naive to the danger of the world even in its dying throes. So this task was nothing I could not shoulder. I had been traveling tirelessly for the last few days, after all. So my mind does not focus on my climb, but it does begin to fixate on the stairs. I have to focus on the stairs. The height is getting dizzying otherwise. Even to the untrained eye, these were designed more deliberately, just as the Wanderer said. Though they had been dwarfed by the fortress itself from afar, the stairs seemed to command a certain presence all on their own, yawning and soaring into the thick fog that had set around the foot of the hills, and daring all who ascend into a march towards purgatory. The Emperor clearly has a cruel sense of humor, to make those suffering, yearning for relief, struggle one last time to reach the gates to plead for refuge at their feet. How can I reason with someone like that? What possible reason can I think of that would convince him to surrender one of the interlocking crests to me? Survival. An end to the apocalypse that continued to draw breath and tumult towards the east. Anyone can be convinced that an end to the apocalypse is a good thing. No. This is a matter of convincing the Emperor that I will be the one to do it. A sob story will not work. I have to make a show of strength and confidence. No one with power respects anyone who throws themselves upon the ground of their own volition, weeping and pleading. Yet here I am trudging up these stairs, playing right into the hand of the Emperor. I sit down to catch my breath, leaning backwards uncomfortably against the stairs as I stare up at the moonless night sky. But as I lie down, it is as if all the weight of my travels has caught up with me all at once. A deep sigh escapes me before I close my bleary eyes and let the dark wash over me. In fleeting dreams, I see a blistering red sun across the sky. Crowns of mountains stand tall, their jagged formations swirling and encircling a single peak that stands above the rest. Clouds rush past me as my consciousness seems to glide through the air, seamlessly, spiraling me into the skies as I peer below at the scene below me. Three silhouetted figures in cloaks are mounted on steeds. They stand before a shining golden gate, which somehow gleams more radiantly than the sun that hung in the sky behind it. A ball of light stands between the four figures. As they urge their horses to approach, metallic wings flare out from the sides of the gate and sprout into a resplendence of metallic plumage before erupting into flames. Yet the ball of light does not move. It only swirls with ferocity with every step closer. One of the steeds of the four rears on its hind legs as the flames roar. Another one of the figures carefully balances a pair of scales in one hand, holding them aloft towards the light. Their mouths move, but I cannot hear anything. I squint my eyes, bathed in the rings of light, enveloped in wings upon wings. I can see the faint outline of a figure in the center, cradling an unusually ornate metal circlet in their hands, while letting out a screeching cackle. The ball of light swirls. I can see the three figures shouting. One trying to urge their steed back, one trying to charge forward, and another just stands motionless. Out of the corner of my eye, I see a fourth horseman riding in far too late. It happens before I can even draw my next breath. The light flares out, and I see the mounted figures dissolve into smoke and bone as the fires swell to consume them. The light curls into the air with a certain resplendent brilliance. Had I not carried the stories of the past with me, I would have thought this was the birth of a new god. Bathing in its glory, my mind is blank in awe. Veins of black ink crack and bleed throughout the light, shattering, resounding, and otherworldly evil devours this newborn light. Then it explodes. Smoke rushes to cloud my vision, and I wake, sweating and horrified at the visions I bore witness to in my sleep. But as I wake, I bear witness to a sight even more horrifying. Wakey, wakey. You fell asleep right near the top. I didn't think you'd make it this far. You know, since it's impossible to underestimate you. But here you are anyway. I hope you're ready to explain yourself to the guards, because I already did a couple of hours ago. The Emperor has entrusted us with the protection of Fort Havershant, the brave, the bold, the mighty Emperor of all things, God King Immortal. O lowly vagrant, state your tale and intention. We will be the gatekeepers who arbitrate your worthiness to enter our holy bastion. We've been standing here for a while now. Can we just get on with your sob story? We haven't got all day. I have sought to find the truth of this world, the true nature of the apocalypse that threatens this world. I can be an asset to your Emperor. I have trained for many years and honed my skills with the spear and with my hands. In the name of the truth, I seek to achieve peace and make this world a sanctum for all. I am strong. I swear to your lord and to this great city that I will not let your people down. We don't need you upstarts in our city. I don't know what that floating thing on your head is, but it looks like bad news. Get out. Go find somewhere else. You don't need to clown around in our city to prove your strength to yourself. If you're so good, you don't need anything from us. The Emperor need not extend protection to those who can stand on their own. You have postured yourself to be of use, but you speak with the tongue of the snake, seeking to threaten the balance we maintain in this world. Begone, lowly vagrant! I open my mouth to reply, but before I can speak, the Wanderer's voice grates in my ear, low and slow, yet filled with venom. You just don't listen at all, do you? I spelled out the answers for you. I spoon-fed you a way to get into Fort Havershant, no problem. I told you what the Emperor wants to see. What is it that you don't understand? Am I speaking a different language? The staircase itself is hostile. The guards have a whole script they follow. They want you to show weakness. It's the only way you can get in. Fine. You forced my hand. Give me yours. What? Why? How will this help with anything? Give me your hand. Close it into a fist for me, will you? Don't complain. You've done enough. I do not trust him, but I have no choice. I've already been denied, and he knows more than I do. I hesitantly give him my hand, tightly closed into a fist. And he promptly clocks my hand into his jaw with a sharp crack. Huh? Lowly vagrant, we may have turned you away, but this is no excuse to perpetuate violence upon citizens under our protection. Under Ordinance 119 Revision A, you are hereby ordered by the Flaming Guard of Fort Havershant to stand down for arrest. What? I'm being detained? I didn't even hit him. He hit himself. With my hand. You all saw that. Oh, guards, please help. This horrible man struck me. I beg of you mercy. Won't the Emperor strike down this heinous criminal? All right, tough guy, you're coming with us. The Emperor will want to hear of this and see you very personally to exact punishment. Don't try to struggle. It'll only make it harder for you. Wanderer, what is this deception? I told you this place has stupid rules. You were bound to break one of them. I just did it for you. I'll be seeing you around, if you're still alive. Good luck. As I let myself get pushed to the ground by the guards, hands being bound behind my back with rope, the Wanderer winks at me and tips his hat. And then with a flap of his wings, it is as if he were never there at all. Chapter 5. The Emperor. The dark iron gates shut behind me with a definitive clang. There is no backing out now. We begin to walk through a dark passageway, barely lit with the low light from flickering torches. Every time I stumble, the guards push me ahead, rapping at the back of my heels with their scabbards to quicken my pace. I steel my resolve. This was hardly the peaceful encounter I'd imagined, but the Wanderer was right about one thing. Like it or not, I was being marched into a direct encounter with the Emperor. Before I can take in the sights of Fort Havershant, a sudden blinding light shines in my eyes as I step out from the tunnel. The sounds of loud, excited crowds chattering greet me before my eyes focus. Footsteps patter on the cobblestone, and horses whinny as their carriages roll through the streets. The rich smell of glazed roasts and freshly baked bread wafts through the air. But the people here are much more of a spectacle to behold. Pockmarked with boils and scars, they shamble along excitedly. Some bore extra limbs, wings, tails, horns, cursed and scarred by years of the rain, yet their spirits unyielding. I have never seen such joyous people. What sort of haven have these people made here? A small crowd of people are beginning to form in a circle around the tunnel entrance that the guards and I emerge from. They point at me through excited whispers, but avert their eyes as if I am not there at all. Standing tall above them in the heart of the city is a massive, polished marble statue of an imposing, bearded man mounted on a rearing steed with a mane of fire. His musculature and facial features have been chiseled with meticulous precision, probably under the purview of a certain emperor. Admittedly, it's a masterful portrait. The sweeping cape has been molded in a way that draws the eye towards his menacing blank stare. An unbroken stare that told of the unspoken. His word, law. His power, unlimited. His control, unyielding. Clear the way! Common citizens of our glorious city, let this man serve as a warning against wrongdoing. In violation of the law of our emperor, he will be punished for striking one of our own. Yes, yes, clear the way, everyone. You all know the whole routine now. Just move along, please. We push past the throngs of people as we reach an impossibly tall black gate. Heaving and puffing under their breaths at the effort, the guards grunt as they pull open the doors. 2 more emerge from the crowd to wave the crowd away. Behind me, I can hear jeers and laughter. The door is shut, and the guards and I once again stand before an impossibly tall staircase. We are boxed in by stone walls decorated with intricate murals carved with artistic mastery, also probably under the purview of a certain emperor. I take it that this is also designed to be some sort of penance, a final ascent for the criminal on their death row. No, the emperor just wanted to build his palace on the peak of the mountain the city rests on. A really tall staircase was just kind of necessary. The peak of the Ikrusk Mountains is the only place befitting the dwelling of our emperor. Indeed, you should be honored to even meet such a powerful man. We begin the climb without further discussion. The chiseled, stony-faced stairs of the murals glare at me as if looking down at an insect. I stare back down at the stairs. Though the steps are carved much less deliberately, I found myself outpacing the guards who had begun to lag behind me after the first 15 minutes. I turn around and find myself alone. Somewhere much farther down, behind me, I can hear the voices of the guards calling out to me in exasperation. Evildoer! Criminal! Do not think you can escape your judgment! No one escapes the purview of our emperor! It's also like a one-way tunnel. I get trying to be petty and make us look bad by just bouncing up the stairs like some kind of mountain goat, but you can just slow down. Usually criminals are screaming and thrashing. I've never seen anyone have such enthusiasm while going up these steps. I can wait at the top for you both if you like. We will not be shamed. We are the Honorable Flaming Guard. Jim, I get it. We all get it. You're dedicated. Dial it back a bit, okay? Yes, we would appreciate it if you did that, Vagrant. Thank you. I shrugged my shoulders as best I could manage with my arms bound behind me. While the ropes had been skillfully tied, I had long ago realized I could easily snap free of them. I think it's best to play along. I don't want the guards to get in trouble for the Wanderer's idea of an unconventional audience. I continue upwards, and before long I stand before a short hallway. 2 braziers with bright, crackling flames stand tall at each side of a dark iron door. As I wait for the guards to catch up, I ruminate in my impending confrontation with the Emperor. Per the Wanderer, he was no easy man to negotiate with. Decidedly confident, likely arrogant. Every word he spoke he desired to be law. Arguing for the continued survival of the world in order to take possession of one piece of the crest? Perhaps for the rational man this would be a fine argument, but for someone who thought the world was his vassal, no, nothing reasonable would work. Then again, I had the same thought process on the other flight of stairs. Perhaps the Wanderer had exaggerated. It wasn't beyond him. Surely the Emperor was a rational man, considering he had managed to maintain a sprawling empire and a thriving capital. The guards huff and puff up the stairs some half an hour after I had reached the top. Sweat beads across their brow as they both grasped my forearm and pushed me towards the door at the end of the hallway. Let's just get this over with. I don't look forward to going all the way back down. My knees are already killing me as it is, and I'm not even the one lined up for punishment. The guards give me one last heave as they force the doors open. I'm greeted by the sight of a throne room with soaring ceilings painted with a detailed depiction of the same blank-staring man standing with his sword held to the sky. Though it had been painted with meticulous detail, I was beginning to tire of seeing his visage on every surface of this city. Windows seemed to have been etched directly into the stone, their trims literally whittled from the mountain. The floors were of a polished dark marble that shined so cleanly that they reflected the mural on the ceiling. Armored soldiers stand on guard in 2 rows facing one another along a dark blue carpet on either side of me. Their hands are tightly clasped around the hilts of their sheathed blades. An unassuming broom and an unemptied dustpan of ash leaned against the wall. It is a curiously mundane oddity relative to the grandeur it was surrounded by. By far the most distinct feature of this throne room was the open-air wall that overlooked the rest of the peaks of the Ikarusk Mountains and the bleeding skies of the ravaged lands. A crudely hewn pathway jutted from the floor out from the side of the mountain with two giant stone hands seeming to hold it aloft from underneath. At the end of that pathway was a broken circle of stone delicately balancing behind an imposing stone throne. And on that throne was the Emperor. The guards pushed me to my knees as the Emperor clears his throat to speak. "Do you know why you're here, branded one?" "I'm afraid this has been quite a large misunderstanding. That was a rhetorical question." Listen to the crowd roaring in the distance. You can feel the tension in the air, the expectation. They know what's coming. Judgment, punishment, entertainment. That's why you're here. Do not speak out of line. Choose your next words carefully. You'll ruin the drama otherwise. I'm here to plead my case. It was never my intention to... Oh, we have an uncivilized man. Or perhaps you meant to spit in my face when you are at my mercy. I will be addressed with respect. I am the infernal emperor of all things, God, King, Immortal. There is no man in this world who does not know of me and my feats. I have warred for this throne 1,000 times, and I have brought glory to the remnants of your people 1,000 more. I command every person in this room. I command every person in this city. They all bow to me. My words, the law. My ideals, the future. I will not be disrespected. Listen clearly. You may make your case, but you will first address me as Your Royal Highness. Then, you may address me as Emperor. I have no choice but to cooperate. Your Royal Highness, I sincerely apologize. Very good. Now speak. Make it worth my time. The crime was a pretense, Emperor. It was, truthfully, a plot concocted by an acquaintance. I could not afford to delay by requesting a formal audience. I believe I can accomplish something for you that will ensure the survival of your kingdom and all the people you rule over. My task concerns something you have in your possession. With that, I believe that I can once again restore the mercy and favor of the gods upon this land. Let me tell you something. I have learned never to trust those branded with emblems. That thing you have in front of your despicable face. I'm willing to bet you don't even know where it comes from. Blind, the lot of you acolytes. You feverishly dogmatic types are always the most difficult to deal with. Too stiff to change, too set in your ways, insisting your path to be the only one worth treading. Even as the apocalypse rides in upon the horizon beating its war drums. Look behind me. Look at it! In the distance I can see the edges of the Ikarusk Mountains that had been leveled to dust. Fires roaring and scraping at the sky with their ceaseless flames burned through the deep scars in the earth. The skies are stained an eerily bright red that's dotted with dark clouds. The apocalypse manifests as a maelstrom that never sleeps, endlessly reshaping and consuming the land around it in a torrent of ash that scattered acidic rains in even the safe lands. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Somewhere it was raining. And all those graced by that rain would feel their skin burned from the tears of the damned betrayer, the embodiment of the sins of the betrayer levied onto the people of this world. How the wind rages. As the earth crumbles to ash and disease and hunger takes your people, what do? Your type just pleads for forgiveness, withdraws, and self-destructs. You have no idea how to live in a changed world. All you know is delusional yearning for an existence that has long since ceased. What benevolent gods would have let this cataclysm shatter your world if they had favored it in the first place? Your gods have abandoned you long ago. You plead only for empty blessings. Dust. You cannot restore the favor of those false gods to this land. I am the new lord of this perished earth, the rightful heir of all that remains. While you pleaded to entities that spared you not a second, I conquered the world. This land and its people have become my charge. My duty lies with them alone. I have given them haven despite perdition, sanctum despite damnation. They needed a savior. I am that savior. No one can stand against my power. No one can match my conviction. You think some wayward, nothing boy with childish dreams like you can do what I cannot? I live to speak the truth, divinely ordained or not. I do not know if gods look upon me now, if they are guiding my journey, or if this journey has been one wholly of my own volition. It is true that I know nothing of the nature of this emblem that brands me, but I am the only one of my village who dared question the stories of the past, of the nature of the apocalypse. We have been closed off to the world at large. Passing missionaries of the Wings of Mercy and merchants have been our only source of news, yet they never spoke of you or your feats. Are you truly the Messiah you claim to be? But you know of my gods, dear Emperor. I dare say that you still try to live up to their power, since you hold their divine artifacts so closely to you. The apocalypse still rages. Perhaps with my help, my faith, I may be able to end the storm, if not reverse it. Oh, you! Enough! We are finished here. You are finished here. You don't even know the true nature of the crest, and that will be your undoing. Gods, bring it to me. It is time to bestow judgment. The guards who ferried me to the Emperor seem to have already been standing at the ready. Delicately and with great care, they present a bundle of rich sapphire velvet to the Emperor. With a clawed hand, the Emperor flicks off the top layers of the fabric to reveal a gleaming band of a crystal circlet. It's breathtaking. It seems to shine with some sort of iridescent quality as it refracts the light into scattered flecks of rainbow. As he takes it into his hands, the light bends and shines, breathing with some otherworldly, uncanny life of its own. It seemed all the more fragile in the Emperor's hands. Something about its dazzling radiance stirs a deep feeling within me, familiar yet incomprehensible. I hardly have time to admire it before I process that the Emperor is approaching me. Man, I always hate this part. Were the ordinary man to bear the crest with his bare hands, he would be reduced to a fine ash. This is the blessing of the This is the nature of the blessing of your gods. Long have I wielded this divine power as my own. None beside me have been able to hold it as I do. This is the great spectacle of Fort Habershant. I am the infernal emperor, god king immortal of all. By my divine will and decree you have been found unworthy of my presence. You have no place in my world. Farewell, boy. Your life was not one well lived. And with those final words, he places the crest upon my head. Chapter 6. Imperial Accord. It is a difficult thing to be confronted with one's own mortality. It is, perhaps, even more difficult to confront it in a matter of few seconds. Yet, in the moments before the Emperor placed his shard of the crest on my head, A few seconds felt like it would stretch into eternity. Thoughts raced through my mind, darting and fleeing in a frantic dance. How did he come to possess a shard of the legendary crest? Why would the crest burn the common man to ash? Is the blessings of the gods truly only limited to a select few? What is the true nature of the gods of this realm? No, those are not the right questions. Something else nags at me. How can the Emperor bear the crest without being reduced to ash himself? Was he... I feel a searing fire burn into my head. Ah, so my time has run out. In some distant memory, I am laying in a field of grass, staring at the bloodied sky. Not the prettiest sight, but one that I knew to be familiar. I can feel the light, gentle warmth of a breeze on my skin. A rare songbird chimes in, its lilting tune swaying and soaring alongside the wind. Soft rains, no, tears stain my cheeks. I can hear the distant chattering from my village faint like a fading dream. Their voices call out to me, pleading with me as I stare at the fires of the distant lands rage on and on. Has this world been forsaken by the gods? And the answer is... yes. I have known this. The gods reside in their kingdom. Their blessings torch our earth. Yet I live. I breathe. I know not their truth, but I know this. I am still here. Oh, what have we here? This is quite the development. Ha! Yes, come to think of it, I do think there is something you can do for me. Open your eyes, no need to cower. Tell me your name, boy. I am Wu Shang. I do not understand. Wasn't I about to... Yes. As much as I hate to admit it, it appears there are forces beyond my control at work. I believe I understand what it means to be done. I believe I understand what needs to be done now. Never did I think I would see the sun rise upon this day. You and I have a lot of work to do, Wu Shang. State your purpose once more. Do this, and I will absolve you of your charges should I judge your goals as worth my time. I would like to find the other pieces of the crest and reunite it with the fragment that you possess now. I have not come to undermine your sovereignty. I have no quarrel with you or your people. But I believe that this is a burden I must bear. My people have grown too comfortable with the stories of old and have resigned themselves to our fate. I now believe that if I were to unite the fragments of the crest once more, I can end this all. I will shoulder the burden of freeing us from the curse of the apocalypse. But I need your help, Emperor. You speak with bold words. You remind me of someone I feel like I once knew. Quite daring to march straight into my throne and demand such a prized artifact from me, all for your own goals and glory. But I cannot deny that the circumstances have changed. I will absolve you of your charges. As Emperor of all things, God, King Immortal, I officially pardon you, vagrant Wu Shang, of your crimes. You may now be greeted and welcome in my domain as a guest. Yes, I will provide to you my fragment of the crest. I will even provide to you the knowledge of the whereabouts of 2 other fragments, but under a certain condition. Okay. I will only give you my crest fragment should you successfully obtain the other 2 that I know the location of. If you fail to obtain both, then I have no faith that you will survive in the ravaged lands. There is a 4th fragment. Its location is unknown to me. You will need to find it on your own. This is my condition. I trust you will find this deal quite fair. Sounds good to me. Where would I begin to look for the other 2 known crests? Do you have any advice? To the north, in the blighted wastelands, I believe there still dwells a savage man-eating beast in possession of 1 fragment of the crest. You may hear it referred to as the Starved One. Most mutant creatures of this world are considerably strong. This beast is different. It can cleave its enemies to ash. While I could easily defeat it, I am not sure you could. Do not underestimate it. It is, however, sentient, capable of speech. Perhaps you may even find it agreeable in countenance. Whether by trial of combat or some kind of negotiation, I do not care how you manage to pry the crest from the beast. It has been many a year since I have looked upon the visage of that creature myself, so I do not know if it still lives. The other fragment of the crest is in possession of the messianic figure of that insolent cult, the Wings of Mercy. I believe the people know them as the Savior. They dwell in the obsidian spires to the south. That Savior is quite the loathsome being, perhaps an even more terrible beast than the one of the blighted wastelands. They are a pathetic lowlife that only finds joy by hindering my plans of uniting this realm under my reign. Their little cult has been a source of misery for my people ever since its inception. Their little squabbles and schisms are a thorn in my side and a threat to the haven I built for the people. And they send me stupid self-help pamphlets. The implication that I need any kind of self-reflection is baseless and unsubstantiated. I do not need help, for I am the one who was destined to conquer all the lands between. It is my name that should be preached in their cathedrals, not that lowlife. I am to be their true savior, yet they still fawn upon that abominable, detestable being. Their insolence disgusts me. That Savior listens not to reason, as they have none themselves. They only seek to preach and lord their way of life above all else. If you can, please rid me and this world of their continued existence. Pry that crest from their cold hands. It seems a bit extreme, but I will just go with what he says for now. Travel to the blighted wastelands first. The occasional weather will be of hindrance, as they always are, but the rainy season is coming soon. It will be impossible to traverse those wretched swamps after that. I will see you off as soon as preparations are complete. Chapter 7. Presage. The Emperor was kind enough to grant me a change of clothing, several days' worth of supplies, and a quiet exit from the city. A marked improvement over being paraded around like a criminal to be publicly executed, I suppose. Nonetheless, I am counting my blessings. I am alive. I have a lead. There is something that must be done that only I can do. And so I travel, striding along the worn paths with a renewed vigor in my step. I have barely lost sight of Fort Haversham behind me when I hear a light, insistent cough behind me. I lose my stride. Ah, so he's back. Oh, my dear Wu Shang, you know how much I care about a proper greeting. We've been through this all before. But never mind that now. I see you're alive and quite well. My. You've got a whole new get-up, and goodness me, your little floaty emblem even changed. How very curious. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? I was about to be executed. The Emperor turns criminals to ash, revels in the opportunity to perform these executions even. And you threw me to the wolves. I don't know how I am alive, but it was no thanks to you. Now, don't get riled up now. I have my methods. You have yours. One of those brilliant plans got you into that fortress and earned you an audience with the esteemed Emperor. And it wasn't yours. Honestly, you should be thanking me. I had to have faith that you could work with that hot-headed oaf. And you should be lauded for your achievement. You've lived. And now you have been duly rewarded and graced with my presence again. Aren't you so glad? The Emperor has promised his fragments of the crest if I am to retrieve the two other fragments that he knows of. One in the blighted wastelands, held by a vicious beast. The other, held by the Savior in the obsidian spires. Do you know anything about either of those beings or their locales? The Emperor waxed in great detail about their character flaws, but spared very little in the way of advice. Is that so? I'll give you the lowdown as we approach, then. It's something you'll get a better understanding of once you see it for yourself. Now, why don't I tell you all about all I did while you were busy getting executed? The days pass uneventfully as we travel. The wanderer entertains himself with idle chatter and snippy comments. I tune him out by the end of the first day. Yet one comment from him did turn my head. Have you ever wondered why you're so clueless about where we're going right now? This isn't just a jab at you, it's a jab at you and everyone around you, and everyone you've ever encountered. Think about it. Few people have any reason to travel to the north. Fewer have any knowledge of what dwells there. Merchants and missionaries that pass through my village often speak of their ventures all across the land, spinning wild tales of glory and opportunity. Even daring adventurers have braved the forest of fire and the ravaged lands in hopes of a grand tale and treasure to bring home. Yet none ever mention anything of the blighted wastelands. It is a land shrouded in mystery, but one thing was known for certain among the people. No one who went to the north ever seemed to come back. Lightless and quiet, like holding in a breath and not knowing when to let it out. A purgatory. Red and swampy, foggy and smelly. Used to have some weird wildlife, but most of all, quiet. Dead quiet. Long ago, I think there was some kind of kingdom there. One thing or another happened and it turned it into what it is now. Whole place is a graveyard. I don't think you're going to see anything except the beast and the bones is picked clean. I don't blame you for not knowing anything about it. No one goes in. No one comes out. And anyone who goes there goes to be forgotten. The Emperor said he's been there before many years ago. He even knows enough about it that he knows it's sentient. If the blighted wastelands are truly what you say they are, what reason would the Emperor have for going there at all? Oh, did he say that? Didn't think he'd be so open to offering that tidbit up. He may have had a hand in turning that place into what it is now. Oh well, if he didn't elaborate, who am I to divulge his skeletons? Things are better shown and not told. I am quite eager to see how these negotiations play out in the land of the starved one. Will you slay the beast, steal the crest from under his nose, talk it out over a cup of tea? I am just giddy imagining the possibilities. Planning to fly off again just like last time? I would have figured you'd want a front seat to the action. But perhaps I have found myself in the company of a coward. I suppose that could also be it. Snapping back. Oh, you've gotten wily. My methods usually don't involve me getting my hands dirty. Intervening directly just isn't my style. But fine, I see what you're getting at. I'll accompany you this time. Though, I'm not sure you truly want me there. Hello, right here in the middle of the video, I know I changed my outfit and everything. It's a different day. I'm recording these reading sessions over the course of a couple of different days. They kind of like rest my voice essentially. So anyway, that's why we're going to, just wanted to give a brief explanation of that. Without further ado, we will continue with Chapter 8, The Starved One. The blighted wastelands are far beyond the pale of what could be considered a place. It is a seeping, bubbling froth of bleeding decay, an undead mass of earth seeming to breathe on its own. The very muck beneath my feet crawls, festers, and pulsates with a distinct quality, not unlike that of an infested corpse that had been cast to the birds and left to rot for days on end. A distinct creeping umber fog hangs in the air, draping over my body like a damp veil. The air is humid and thick, and the stench of the rot claws at my stomach. It takes everything in my willpower not to retch. The dreadful crimson swamp is pockmarked with puddles of a tar-like black liquid that sizzle and burn at the fabric of my clothes. Even the trees are a ghastly sight. Their broad, thick limbs seem to twist and grasp into one another, forming a mound of roots shaped like starved bodies heaped atop one another. Every knob and knurl a screaming visage of an agonized soul. The deeper I go, the stranger the environment becomes. At some point, the swamp became asphalt. The haunted fauna became sky-high, decaying buildings of a bygone era, halfway submerged in the muck. The fog gave way to weak shafts of sunlight, peeking out from foliage of the sprawling, massive trees that embedded themselves within the girders of the rubble. Coiled atop the broken buildings is a massive, massive skeleton of a serpentine beast. Its empty gaze stares at some faraway point in the horizon, as if yearning to be anywhere but here. It is a sight unlike anything I have ever seen. Not a soul stirs from within. Ash whips up from the ground into the wind and billows past me. A ringing throbs in my ear. I have never seen anything like this before. It is surreal. This must have been a huge settlement. What possibly could have happened here? Something about the giant serpent skeleton conveniently draped on the buildings makes me think that may have had something to do with it. But the blighted wastelands lie beyond the Vanguard Mountains. The apocalypse never went beyond it. That's what the elders have always said. Oh, come on. I know you don't just blindly believe all the stories you're told. That's the whole reason for your little journey, no? Look at it. Just look at it. Oh, wait. You probably can't see very well through that mask, can you? Well, this whole place looks a bit apocalyptic. Not remotely livable. But better than it used to be. My, beastie. You've really cleaned up the whole place. I didn't know you'd go trouble yourself that much. Have you learned manners? How quaint. As if responding to the wanderer's quips, the ground begins to shake and tremble. Loose stones stand on end, rattling and clacking against the ground. A great metallic groan echoes through the city, resounding and shuddering as if struck by a mighty crack of lightning. The thunderous booming bounces along every building and every crevice in the blighted city. A thick cloud of red dust plumes from the opposite end of the road I stand on. Then, all at once, it billows over me and the wanderer. I only have but mere seconds to shield my arms up. My hair stands on end and my fingers start to tremble involuntarily. Flying debris skates along my skin, not enough to draw blood, but enough to have me grit my teeth against the pain of shrapnel bound on my skin. I shudder and cough, blinking away the motes of dust that cling to me. Spires of bone erupt in rows from along the side of the road, sending chunks of stone flying. I can hardly see a thing, much less make out the enormous shape that smashes into the ground farther up the road. A dark, looming shape hangs in the air, menacingly bearing down upon us. I look up. The long serpentine skeleton that had been weaved along the remnants of the steel frames had suddenly vanished. Its gaze no longer fixed in sentry, but it instead stares right at me. Though clearly lifeless, I feel as if my very being has been judged and found wanting. Something was very wrong. I ball my hands into fists and steady my breath. I am shaken, but I want to be ready. Even if I had not the slightest clue what was happening. The wanderer, on the other hand, appears entirely nonplussed. He stares at the end of the road expectantly, a wry smile painted on his face. He steeples his fingers. And then, a hunched figure emerges from the cloud of dust atop a mount. The mount is a spindly, dark, insect-like creature with long red antennae. A small pair of scales serves as its muzzle. It seethes with an unbridled, ravenous rage. The figure dismounts, only stopping to gently pat the steed on its back. The creature sprouts red parchment-like membranes from its back, vanishing into the cloud of dust. The humanoid figure lurches forward, shambling forward on its goat-like legs with a distinct limp. Upon closer study, I can see teeth emerging from its knees. A ram's skull appears to be halfway melted into its face, its jaws becoming more animal than human, with long twisting horns protruding from its temples. The top of its head cracks open into a mouth slightly quivering. A disgusting tongue flops from the opening, salivating onto its matted fur cloak. The spindly teeth running along the open ridge of its head gnash in expectation. Buried in its gaunt, emaciated torso is another gnashing mouth. More teeth than flesh, it bares its fangs at me, hissing. A piercing eye stares at me from within the torso mouth, twitching as it studies the Wanderer and I. Sorry. Oh, did I strike a nerve? It's been so long. Why don't you introduce yourself to our new little friend here, now that you've troubled yourself with quite the greeting? Bravo, by the way. The giant skeleton thing entrance really makes use of the environment. Adds a lot of tension and ambience. Such suspense. You do lose points for getting my hat dirty and for taking so long to make your entrance, though. Who are you? What are you? I'm hungry. Its voice is akin to the hissing of steam, crackly, raspy, and dry. Its words grate against my ears. Yet its words all rumbled with a deeper, feral growl, as if the other mouths along its body were all speaking in unison. Gods, you haven't changed at all. Just call him the Beast or the Starved One. Actually, go with the second one. Befitting of his nature. He's starved in more ways than just hunger. The Wanderer raps the side of his head, snickering. The creature ignores him, though some of its mouths continue to gnash their teeth and hiss. What do you want? I can't imagine you've come here just for a chat. I am Wu Shang from the Western Safelands. I was told that you possess a fragment of the crest, a legendary artifact that was once foretold to bring about a miracle to the world. Do you have it? Yes, I have it. Why? The Starved One carries itself with a distinctly carefree manner. Its beady eyes are trained on me, but not with malice. Instead, its eyes are focused with the fixation and curiosity of a wild animal observing a sudden disturbance. Though it initially appeared grotesque with its hunched posture and gaping maws, it seemed oddly nonchalant. Its muscles had relaxed after it heard my voice. The various mouths scattered along its body had stopped gnashing and hissing. The tongue lolling from its head drools. It is quite the frightening beast, but oddly enough, I feel no intent of ill will. I plan to unite the crest into one once more. I've negotiated with the Emperor from the southern Safelands already. If I can procure your crest fragment, as well as the one from the Savior, then he will give me his own fragment. I'm hoping we can settle this amicably. Oh, really? That's amusing. What's driving you to do this? Why do you want to reunite the pieces? Yes, I initially set out to find the truth of the apocalypse's origins. I now know that the crest was no myth at all. So my mission has changed. When I found out the Emperor had a fragment of the crest, I knew that I had to be the one to fulfill the duty that had been shirked. I want to be the one to end the apocalypse. I want to stop the rains. I want to stop the fires. I want the children and the people to live and be in a living world, not a dying one. So, you've held it right. Since you've got that warmonger's blessing to come here. The Emperor? Yeah, that guy. I don't call him that, though. That would make my eyes. I want to roll out the back of my head. Go on. Right. He told me that it would reduce the common man to ashes. as he placed it on my head. I guess the dustpan and broom and the throne kind of foreshadowed it a bit.
Glad to hear that time hasn't changed him. All right. I believe you. You seem genuine. You just happened to meet the bad actors. That must have been rough to deal with. They're always trying to demand respect when they don't deserve any. Look, I can give you my piece, Nikes. I think you got guts. I think single-minded focus is very good for getting things done. And because I like you, I have some advice. Be careful. If you focus too hard on one thing, you may fail to see the bigger picture. Like the unreliable company close to you who invites nothing but trouble.
Do you speak of the Wanderer?
Oh, ignore this brute. One last thing. Have you got anything to eat? I've been living off the spoils of that warmonger's previous campaign for a while now. I'm sure you've noticed, but the whole place has gotten pretty clean. A little too clean. It's lost that appetizing smell, you know. So, have you got a bite to eat? Anything will do. I'll trade you my crest.
Would these travel rations do?
My man. Deal.
It reaches into the jaws of its torso mouth. With a slight heave, the mouth coughs up a dull yet otherwise unmarred quartz chunk with a ruby inset, an eye. Though it was covered in saliva, the moisture seems to give it the appearance of welling tears. Dirty as it was, the iris of the gem glints a beautiful regal red in the fading sunlight. I whisk out a small handkerchief from my pouch and hold it out. The starved one flicks it into my outstretched hands as it grabs the biscuit from my other hand. Without a word, it flicks one biscuit into its torso mouth before taking a bite of another biscuit with the mouth on the top of its head. The starved one points a taloned thumb at the Wanderer as it chews.
When are you going to get the fragment of it? His fragment of the crest.
What? What?
He probably has it on him right now.
Now, dear beastie, I have no idea what you are talking about. It would be no good to feed lies to our little hero. Don't get his hopes up. We haven't got the slightest clue where the fourth fragment is. Are you trying to sow doubt and discord among friends? Dear me, this villainous beast is trying to drive us apart.
Shut up, pest. You can wax on and on all you like, but it won't hide the truth. You can't hide from me. I know what you are. You know what I am. Did you bother telling him anything at all? Or are you just here to entertain yourself with the sound of your own voice? Woo-shong. This pest is just here to mess with you. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him.
I don't understand. What you are? What? No, more importantly, Wanderer, do you really have the fourth fragment on you right now? All this time?
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. Why would I ever hide something like that from you? I'd never do such a thing. That's truly quite crass. I don't appreciate the accusations either. Quite offensive. I guess you didn't learn any manners after all.
You always keep one hand on your chest. I know. No, you have a secret pocket there. You fiddle with it when you're not getting your way. You're doing it right now. The Wanderer. You go by that now. You know what he is. He is Wushang. Trouble. Always has been, always will be.
Stop! Ugh! Can't you see what I'm trying to do here? Do you just have to up and ruin everything important to me? Why can't you leave me alone or play along? You're no fun at all. This isn't supposed to go like this at all. I hate you.
God, you're still annoying. I'm sorry to see that time hasn't changed you. You still act like a petulant child. Grow up.
Wanderer, we have a lot to talk about. I suppose I should thank you, Starved One, for your fragment of the crest and for your being forthcoming with me.
I don't want to be involved more than I have to. I'm just hungry. You gave me something to eat. Calling it how it is the best is the least I could do.
I liked it better when you pretended I wasn't here.
Chapter 9. Valediction. The journey south back towards Fort Havershant is tense. As we walk past its outskirts, my mind is lost in a flurry of muddled thoughts and emotions. I cannot look the Wanderer in the eye. Yes, he deceived me with his ploy to get an audience with the Emperor. Yes, he left me to fend for myself when I was to be executed by the Emperor. And yes, he had been exceptionally annoying the entire time. Nonetheless, I cannot help but feel quite bitter. To think that the Wanderer would simply feign ignorance and watch me run around the continent while he had the last piece of the puzzle in his pocket. He knew of my goals. What was his? To take the completed crest from me after I gathered the other pieces?
I take it your silence means you're angry with me.
Had this only just occurred to you?
Well, you're normally quite silent, so this was a pretty impressive guess on my part, I would say. I assure you, I had very good reasons to not divulge that I had that on my person. The crest fragment isn't just for any silly old man with a beard and fanciful dreams of saving the world. I had to vet you first, naturally.
I doubt that. You were comfortable with the idea of letting me be turned to ash by the Emperor. Did you just not want to dirty your own hands? Is that it?
Well, the Emperor relishes that sort of thing. It wouldn't be any fun for me personally if you crumbled into ash by my hand. Now, if you died with the Emperor, it's a win for both me and the Emperor. If you didn't die, it's still a win for both of us. But if you died with me, it's just be a loss all around. I feel like this logic is the most agreeable explanation for doing what I did, no?
What about how I would think about all this? You didn't consider the feelings of someone you sent to be killed?
I can't just care about the discomfort of every person I meet. Goodness, I have my limits. Besides, in our initial meeting, didn't I lay out to you my plans for that meeting with the Emperor very precisely? I don't see why you should be so upset.
Answer me, Wanderer. Do you just see everyone around you as tools? What's your end goal? Do you just stay around to give me grief? I'm sure you'll come to understand how I operate in time. I've gotten the most entertainment in this short amount of time that I have in decades. You don't think I'd like to draw it out a little more? I'd say it's a human thing to want more, but I'm not human. Sorry, that wasn't my best bit. What are you? How did the Starved One know you? It talked to you as if it knew you. You've talked about the Emperor at length as if you knew him personally. I'm a wanderer. I leave carried in the breeze. If you live long enough and drift long enough, you'll know everything and everyone. They're passing acquaintances, nothing more. I think what would make you feel better is a little bit of time spent making an effort to understand your place in the world. You should try it out sometime. Maybe now? What is that supposed to mean? You answered nothing at all.
Dear, dear Wushang, there are forces larger than you, I, and everyone else in this accursed realm I have to answer to.
The Starved One, the Emperor, the Savior, and you. How can you all handle the crest fragments if it turned the common man to ash? What are all of you?
No, I won't answer this one. It isn't time. You've been testing my patience. I've had enough with your attitude. If you want answers, you're not getting them from me. You aren't getting this fragment either. This is goodbye for now, Wushang. Give the Savior a warm greeting from me.
The Wanderer steps back, unfurling his wings. In a flash of acid green dust, he spirals into the sky. In mere seconds, he has become a dot in the air. Then nothing at all. The crest fragment aside, I wish for nothing but to never see the Wanderer again. But something tells me this is not our final meeting. Chapter 10. The Hallowed War. A field. Miles and miles of tall, dead grass. A gentle wind billows through the tresses, soured by the scent of rains to come. Wave after wave beating upon a grave of shattered swords, spears, axes. All brands of weapons and instruments of war stabbed into the earth. They gleam in the dim light, a grim greeting and reminder. What happened in this field? I close my eyes and breathe in. In and out. Yes, I can imagine it all that happened decades ago. It is snowing. Legions of warriors, 1,000 strong, marching towards one another. Clad in garb bearing white wings, they brandish their weapons in the air like fanatics. They are cheering, bellowing, and screaming for blood, to advance, to press onward. They are a pack of wild animals, hounding and pulling at their restraints. They see nothing but red. They want to hunt. Some thousand of meters away stands a small group, bearing standards decorated with black wings. They are quiet. They are solemn. They do not want to be here. They know what is going to happen, and they take no joy in what needs to be done. Behind the forces bearing black wings is a hastily assembled tent. Inside, a weary priestess hangs her head over a map of the nearby landscape. Dozens of red arrows and black crosses are marked upon it. How many times has she seen her friends fight and die? How many times more would she have to bury them below their broken blades? She has seen war many times. She is tired. She shudders. It is too cold. A horn sounds. The forces clad in white wings charge forth. Their march breaks the dirt underneath them, sending muddy snow into the air. Their robes have been sullied, but they do not care. The heretics are before them, and they must be vanquished. Dual beliefs in a merciful life, or a merciful death. The schism that split the wings of mercy into what it became, the Hallowed War. As they advance, I can feel their anger. It bubbles, frothing with a vigorous rage and a volition like no other. They have nothing left to lose and everything to gain. The priestess raises her head. The time has come. She waves her hand. A simple motion, but one that she knew would herald great destruction. A rain of arrows and fiery magic thrums against the shields and bodies of the advancing army. The infantry watch as their enemies crumple. The snow melts. The standards bearing white first begin to burn. Then they begin to fall. The snow wraps their fallen bodies like a soft blanket. It is bitterly cold now, but it will be warm soon. A lovely red paints the white. They whisper, "The Savior will hear us. We do not die here. It does not end here." The priestess blinks away snow that has fallen onto her eyelashes. Why did it have to be this way? To be at war, to be in conflict of what is right and what is wrong. Once brothers and sisters in arms, now turning blades against one another. How did we come so far, spread our truth only to fall to our own infighting? Do we not seek change for the sake of bettering? Does it matter what good we have done if we tear one another apart? We live in the shadow of the Savior. Their words, those tenets, have led to this. We had nothing else to turn to when the apocalypse descended. The priestess does not weep when the cries rattle out. She does not look down when they finally stop. Instead, she glides upon the snow, her arms held aloft. The war is over, but we cannot let their bodies rot here. They believed in a merciful death, and we have granted it to them. We did not want it to come to this. Their black banners flutter. The battlefield has become a burial ground. But where was the Savior? My sight clears. I stand in the ghosts of those who had fallen that day, every hilt, every shattered blade. They used to be someone who was doing what was right. Even the stray sigh of the wind feels like whispering in my ear. I shake my head. The apocalypse did this. It turned people to arms and to each other's throats. Soon there will be no more reason to fight. I will make sure of it. I turn my head to the south. Great black shining spires rise from the mountains. They pierce the skies with great mirth and great malice. They were formed when the Vanguard Mountains fell. They should not be here. My resolve is steeled. I will press on. For the sake of the people, I must unite the crest into one. I will bestow the blessings upon the land. No beast, no foe, no sovereign, no Messiah will break me. And so I continue, my footsteps leading to the mountain abode of the Savior. Chapter 11. The Savior. Death to the Savior. The mountain pass is difficult. The terrain is hostile, but it is not trying to fight. It is defensive, protective. It does not want me to suffer, but it does want to keep me out. Boulders had fallen from above, leaving large cracks and scars snaking along the earth. Nothing was even. Each gap was an endeavor to cross. Every cliff was another strain on my tired body. The falling snow first melts on my weary, worn brow. Then it begins to build. It was soft and light at first. Now it is 1,000 kilos I bear upon my body. I do not look up. It is easier to travel when I know not where my feet take me. I know where I must go, but I know better than to yearn for the next peak that rises in the distance. It is when the road turns from sheer rock and snow to trodden grass and weather-worn dirt that I finally look up. Everything is strange. Lush grasses, old buildings carefully maintained. The paint has begun to chip and flake, but a new coat will be painted over it soon. Cobblestones swept and polished. They are maintained every day without fail. High above the settlement there is a statue of a winged, hooded figure. It is standing ready, holding a bronze trumpet to where its lips would be. The grand obsidian spires are pillars rising above the settlement. In this hidden corner of the world, the Wings of Mercy have taken refuge. Some of their missionaries are brave enough to settle and spread their creed across the continent, but for most of their number, they stay here. They are sheltered by the mountains and by their Messiah. They have been persecuted by the Emperor before. They have been persecuted even by one another. All that remains is the victor of the schism, the death-touched sect. They built this place themselves, brick by brick. Small stores crisscross roads and passing chatter. It is less lively than Fort Havershant, but these people have carved out a part of the world as theirs. This place is their holy city. Blissfully, they are not aware of their tainted reputation beyond this sanctum. Priestesses walk by hurriedly. They give curt nods in greeting, but they have somewhere to be. Time does not halt for passing chatter. They had things to do. Another teaching to give, another coat to paint, another garden to maintain. I've already been forgotten in their minds the moment they pass by me. But I too have somewhere to be. with someone I need to meet. My apologies for interrupting you, but do you know where I can speak to the Savior? The priestesses paused, ruminating on my request. They seemed befuddled. How could someone not know where the Savior was? The Savior does not hide from the world. They embrace it with open arms and wings. So when someone marches into their holy city and asks where the holy head of their religion is, it is enough to give pause. They silently point towards the main road at the statue. There is a long, pristine bridge that rises into the air up to meet the lip of the statue's trumpet. I wave a nod in thanks before I make my way to the bridge. I see a small queue of people formed in front of me. 2 priestesses stand beside the line, their hands clasped tightly to their chest. It is solemn and silent, but there is no anxiety or fear in the minds of these people. No, they await their audience eagerly. One by one, the priestesses take away the next person in line while ferrying back the previous person. It is my turn next. There is still remaining anxiety in my heart. Would the Savior receive an outsider like the Emperor? I know now that I can hold the fragments of the crest without being reduced to dust. I am still mortal, however. If I offended them by asking for their fragment, would I be allowed to live? Anxious, I lightly tap my foot against the cobble. I get stares from the other people in the queue, but I cannot stop. The priestesses return, motioning for me to follow. As I ascend the bridge, I take in the sights around me. The skies are clearer here, as if a protective ward had been drawn around this valley. Golden light peeks through the mountaintops, casting long shadows over the landscape. The lake below the bridge shimmers with remnant flickers of light. The statue looms before me, but it is not menacing in its presence. A melancholic tension hangs in the air, unresolved sadness, felled foe and friend, and decades of solitude. A mission left unfulfilled. And soon, before me, I see the Savior. Hello, Wu Shang. I have been waiting for you. You know my name? I have eyes and ears all around, but even without my informants, news travels quickly. You and I have much to discuss. Please, sit with me. Priestesses, kindly inform any remaining guests that I have concluded for the day. Ah, and would you care for something to drink? Tea? Yes, that would be appreciated, thank you. One priestess begins to head down the bridge. The other ducks into a small building before bringing out a pot of freshly brewed, piping hot tea. She places it on a nearby table, bows, and leaves. The Savior motions for me to sit as she pours a cup for me, humming a hymn. As I sit down, I cannot help but stare at her. Despite having the head of a vulture, she looks upon me not with the gaze of an opportunist. Instead, her yellow, piercing eyes betray a motherly kindness and sympathy. Her plumage is mottled with dull, tawny spots, fluttering with every movement. Massive, dark, inky wings sprout from her back. Tendrils of ink seem to cling to her sets of wings together. Despite this, she moves smoothly, silently, and with divine bearing. Her ceremonial garb is regal in its airs, but unlike the Emperor, there is no pomp and circumstance. It is natural. It is innate. She simply invokes grandeur. As she sits, the Savior begins to speak again. Her lilting, warm voice seems to dance to a rhythmic cadence. It sings with every word, every intonation. Please feel free to ignore any formalities. I do not care for such frivolous things, even if my followers insist upon it. We will speak as equals. I'm honestly quite surprised and grateful for your hospitality. The previous encounters I've had with others along my journey have not been so pleasant. Oh? Please tell me about your journey. The road must have been a long one. I initially set out to uncover the truth of the world. Why are we still alive in this dying world? I first encountered a wanderer. He insisted upon traveling with me because he said he knew where one of the fragments of the crest were. He branded me as a criminal so that I may enter Fort Havershant and see the Emperor. The meeting went poorly and the Emperor attempted to execute me. I did not die. The fragment of the crest burned at my skin, but I am still alive. He sent me to retrieve 2 fragments with known locations, one to the north with the starved one, the other to the south with you. Only then will he supply me with the third fragment. And the fourth, as I have come to know with that wanderer, who failed to tell me that he possessed a portion of the crest this entire time. I have parted ways with him. He took his fragment with him. Nevertheless, I have the fragment of the Starved One. I still intend to complete my original mission. So I have come here alone. I may not be able to retrieve his portion, but I would still like to reunite the fragments of the crest as completely as I can. Even incomplete, surely it possesses great power. Savior, will you hear me out? Will you provide me with your fragment of the crest? I see. You have encountered great strife and adversity to come here. It seems that my peers, based on your account, have not changed at all. Yes, I will give you my fragment, but let us talk first. I'm sure you have many questions you want to ask of me. I'm sure they have been difficult to work with. They are, among other things, apathetic, egotistical, unempathetic. No. I sympathize with the plight of your people. I will listen. Ask, and I will answer. Are the crest fragments you all possess truly the artifact in the legends? Yes. There are some details that have been lost to time, but this is the one and only crest. The key intended to unlock the blessed gates all those years ago. It is the real, true artifact of the divine. What exactly are you and the others? A difficult question. What was I? What am I now? What have I become? I am a messiah, at least to my followers and to the world at large. I have become a messiah to their faith. I descended upon them in their time of need and provided them with core tenets of my philosophy. It has grown beyond what I intended. Truth be told, I had no idea it would grow into what it is now. For many years I secluded myself. When I returned from my solitude, I found my own adherents in the midst of a civil war. But I accept responsibility for my actions. I never clarified my intentions very clearly. These sister sects of the Wings of Mercy have torn themselves from the inside, trying to pick apart every aspect of every word I spoke that fateful day. Many lives have been lost because of my inaction. I regret it. So now I have adorned the mantle of their deliverer. I have become what this world knows as the Savior, but it is not what I truly am. Then what are you, really? Death. Antithesis to life and the true primordial fear of all living beings. I am defied. I am opposed. I am reviled. But death comes for all. The warmth of being surrounded by loved ones as you fade away into dreamless sleep. The sinking loneliness of a wasted existence. I am what waits in the end. Death is the ruler in the domain of life. How can this be? What, do you personally shepherd people into the beyond? Are you a god? What is in the afterlife? No, I am no reaper. I am no god. Perhaps I am partially divine, but most of all I am just an embodiment, a principle. I do not cause death, not intentionally anyway. It is a duty that is bestowed upon me, but I reject this responsibility to the best of my ability. There is no meaning in death without a well-lived life, so my gift to the people is the will to make meaning in a meaningless life. Perhaps you might find it repugnant that I try to bestow such kindness, only to be the inevitability that awaits them. I do not reject that. Then the others? Are they all like you? Yes. The Starved One, beast of the blighted wastelands. He is famine. The Emperor, the Warmonger, the Ashen Warlord. He is war. The Wanderer, known to no one but himself. He is pestilence. Not even beings, but concepts? My appearance, this form I have taken, is a curse, a punishment. If the betrayer was the one who initiated the apocalypse, then I suppose that makes us the betrayed. The betrayed? That means you were the 4 champions? I had a vision, some faint dream. I saw you all. I did not know it was you then, but I saw you all turn to dust. The crest, the betrayer, the initiation of the apocalypse. Yes. As a consequence of the betrayer shirking their duties, we have been cursed. The others have lost their sense of purpose. They have resigned themselves to roam the land, indulging in their hedonist whims, immortal yet without purpose. Content with letting this world fester when the solution is within their fingertips. We cannot wield the crest as one. They have never listened to me. They never will. But my will has never faltered. I have not lost sight of what must be done. Give me your hand, Wu Shang. Take my fragment. Death places a glimmering metal shard into my hand, slightly indented in its right half. The sun gleams off of it with a rosy warmth. Memories of gold glint on its surface, shifting and bending with the light. It is familiar yet alien, nostalgic yet unknown, a poignant jamais vu. It has been polished every day for 100 years. It has yearned to be reunited with its siblings 100 more. As it touches my palm, I can feel a heat radiating from it, not searing, but comforting me. I feel it pounding within my chest, an overwhelming sensation of responsibility. The will of the people, the will of the divine. I have been waiting for this moment for a very long time, Wu Shang. Once I saw the universal principle, the emblem of the divine that adorns you, I knew that you could be the one to do what we could not all those years ago. Slay it. Slay the foul beast that still dwells in the apocalypse of the ravaged lands. It has lost its sense of self long ago. An arrogant mistake turned a fate worse than even death, undying and raging. You must end the Emperor. It will fall by your hand and yours alone. Then, the blessed gates will be free from its tyranny. Complete the crest. Place it within the blessed gates. Unleash the divine gifts that were meant for this world. Wu Shang, deliver us. Free us from our curse. Free the people of this world once and for all. You will be our liberator. You will be our champion. Chapter 12. Ashes to Ashes. I have retrieved both fragments of the crest, one from the starved one from the savior. I have come to uphold you on your bargain. Emperor, grant me your fragment.
Oh, did you now? Have you found a lead on the 4th fragment?
Yes, I believe I have. I do not know where it is now, but I know who does. I'm sure that I will get an opportunity to retrieve it.
Dear me. I can't just give up an important artifact without some assurance that you will be able to complete the full thing. I do apologize, but perhaps I need to revise the initial terms of our deal.
No. I am done playing games. I know what you are. I know what all of you are. The Savior, no, Death, told me as much. I know you are powerless without the other fragments. Pestilence will never give you his. Knowing him, he will flutter back, hungry to be a part of this grand show. He will offer his fragment then, in the height of drama. Honor your accord, war.
Oh, I knew I should have tried to silence that wretched bird when I could. Always getting in my way, that blasted thing. I suppose there is no point to toying with you any longer. One last condition before I surrender my fragment.
Go on.
When you complete the crest and behold it in its final form, do not place it in the blessed gates.
What?
If you place it in the door, it will only bring ruin to us all. You will ruin this world. You will destroy everyone in this city. You will destroy everything on this side of the mountains and in the next. You will obliterate everything I have done.
Blessing of the gods? What gods? The ones that have cursed you? I told you to look at the ravaged lands. This ruin is the work of your gods you so desperately worship. I have worked for the last eon to become the new true god of this realm. Unleash their gift, and then what? You will undo everything I have accomplished. You wield this absolute power and this absolute choice. You know what this also means? You have the power to seize the world in your hands. Stand by my side. I would prefer to stand on my own, but with the power of the crest, I can become even more powerful. We do not need the wretched divine. We can rule over all as the new gods. Think of the glory. Think of the fame. The people will chant your name. Hero, the true hero. All will know your face, carved alongside mine in the reliefs. Your statue will stand immortal and tall. Think of the possibilities. Think of it! All you need to do is not put that crest into those gates. War lets out a hearty guffaw, but something else tinges his laughter. Desperation. It manifests for a mere second through a brief wheezing cough, but it is enough to betray his true emotions. Perhaps he fears the control he will lose. Perhaps he fears the potential of the power at my fingertips. Any despot fears a challenge to their authority, and he has everything to lose. His words are tainted with self-interest, barefaced lies hissing through his teeth, empty promises. Despite this, he is providing his fragment to me. He is placing his fate in my hands. Perhaps there is some double meaning to his insane demands. I will do what is right for the people. That has always been and always will be my objective. If your motivations benefit them, then our goals are aligned. Excellent! I'm so glad we could agree. I will entrust my fragment to you. Don't disappoint me. Do not place the completed crest in the blessed gates. It will be your undoing. It will be my undoing. Remember this, if nothing else. I will know if you have gone back on this agreement. It will be evident. The skies will burn. The people will be engulfed in flame, thralls of the divine. There is no place you can hide. To the ends of this realm and beyond, I will chase you down. You will wish you never defied me. Even if the crest has chosen you, you will be powerless, as everything you know is leveled to ash and shadow. It will be your final mistake. If you are not already dead, I will make sure of it. So, for your sake, and all that you hold dear, hear my plea. Do not seek to end everything I have worked to build. Do not pretend to know more than you do. I am certain you will regret it. Now go. The ravaged lands await you. Your final trial has only just begun. Chapter 13. Dust to Dust. From behind War's fortress lies a precarious, meandering pathway straight through the ravaged lands. It stretches far into the crimson horizon, a direct path to the swirling storm that awaits me. It is narrow, barely enough to fit a single person comfortably. I tread carefully, one step at a time. A mistake spells death. From either side of the pathway is a sheer drop. At the bottom there is swirling, deathly molten lava. In the lava, I swear I can see burning humanoid forms wandering aimlessly in the fiery sea. I can feel the heat from the soaring flames, the eternal inferno that cleanses all on this side of the mountain range. A lashing gale blows across my face. Beads of sweat form on my forehead. Dark clouds rise above me. I stare into the empty sockets of the giant, ghastly skeleton that towers over the landscape, clutching a sword in one hand and reaching out with the other. It grasps for something that is no longer there. Corpses of enormous, strange beasts are littered along the flattened mountains. Skeletons of creatures I have never seen nor imagined. Their lifeless maws seem to laugh at me. Hail the Liberator, Liberator of the world. The farther I journey into the ravaged lands, the stranger the sights seem to become. Once I pass the threshold of the dark clouds, everything is wrong. Shards of shattered mountain float in the sky, swirling in the winds of the apocalypse. Distant, disembodied screams and shrieks resound all around me. Reflective shards of glass shine for brief moments, bouncing the eerie red light all around. Perhaps most disconcertingly, I hear the wind whispering to me once more. It speaks to me softly, with subdued regrets. There will be no end. There will be no beginning. A stasis of death and life. We may live these half-lives, but we still live. We still survive. Memories that belong to someone else. A burden I have inherited. I did only what I thought was right. I didn't mean for it to be this way. I know what I had to do. I thought I knew. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. The whispers layer on top of one another, pleading, wondering, thinking, begging, seething, denying, crying out. My head throbs in pain, regrets, a spiral of despair scattered into the wind. Then I see it. The blessed gates. My childhood picture books paled in comparison to the shining, glimmering gold gates before me. Unmarred by time, they have waited patiently for their champion to return. A molten hand reaches up towards the gates, unable to touch yet forever within reach. But in my awe, I fail to see a shower of embers fall behind me. A plume of smoke, breathing, sighing. Then, fiery claws grip me, searing into my skin. I am flying, and not of my own volition. The heat and dripping magma scorch my body with an unimaginable pain. Then nothing, as my flesh becomes numb. I look up, and I stare into the eyes of the molten, flying creature. A gut feeling. Just that, and nothing more. But I know. This is the betrayer. Their hideous form, a corruption of what they must have been. I only have but a fraction of a second. But a second is all I need. Chapter 14. The Betrayer. Everything changes in an instant. As I stare into the gaping maw of the beast, I am hardly aware of my own hand cleaving straight through its smoky form, punctuating the air with dissipating plumes of molten ash. It has been done. In minutes, perhaps mere seconds, the betrayer will be no more. The emblem wavers for but a brief second, yet I do not falter. My fist has struck true. I know it has. A long-forgotten peace will be brought upon this land, ushered by my hand. But I can hardly begin to imagine what it looks like before the creature's death rattle, sharp as its claws, is ripping, tearing into my ears. Clawing, piercing, snapping, popping, crunching, and reverberating into my every being, every part of my consciousness fixate on its mournful weeping. Yet no matter how much it weeps, the horrendous wailing is all but lost in the whipping winds. The light in its eyes is fading, dimming with every shriek and call. I will be the one to hear its final dirge. It collapses, wheezing on the ground. Once menacing, the betrayer's mutated form now resembled that of a young chick that had fallen after a too brave venture from its nest. I reach out to it. A simple human reaction to seeing a creature in its last throes. But as my fingertips brush against its smoldering form, the crumbling specter of the betrayer gazes upon me with mournful eyes. Across its face, painted a deeply primitive emotion of pure, unadulterated panic. Somewhere, far away, I could hear a shrill cackling. It is mocking me. I open my mouth to speak. Did I mean to speak to it in hushed whispers, comfort it as it lay dying, taunt it? But I can hardly breathe a word before the betrayer's head drops. A dark, inky liquid begins to leak from its body, the cracks in the earth becoming veins bleeding across the earth. It shudders, sending out flecks of embers from its tattered plumage. The remnants of its ashen avian form start to melt, seeping and puddling along the ground before my very eyes, giving way to the faint outline of a man melted into the tar-like ooze. My breath catches in my throat. So this was the betrayer's original form, then. I pray his end by my hand with a quick one. I turn to avert my eye, but the light from the dying flames catches a golden glint. As I focus my vision, I catch the sight of a tarnished bronze shard of the final fragment of the crest, dancing on the Wanderer, no, Pestilence's fingertips as he perches atop the blessed gates. An act of heresy, but that was not my focus.
Bravo! Bravo! Now you've really done it. You've come so far, dear me. Oh, were you looking for this?
So you have returned.
A little birdie told me that I should hand it over once you've downed the big old soot bag. Weaved in a couple of threads, that cheeky thing. Maybe back in the day, give it another shot, I could have duked it out. My 6-shooters against his talons would have been a grand performance. Nowadays, guess I've been sniffing too many roses, kicking back and relaxing a bit too much. This easy life is a good life. But what a pleasure it has been to watch this little show unfold in real time. Except this time, I'm in the audience, instead of getting melted into ash and reshaped back into this form. Yes, it's all been such a fun game. Give yourself a pat on the back, will you? You played your part excellently.
Enough! I've had enough of your antics. This isn't just a big game. This was the betrayer himself, felled by my hand. The stories, they were all true. It incited this madness, and I will be the one to end it. Hand over the final piece of the crest, Pestilence. You got your show. We're done here.
Oh, you know my true name. I guess the cat is out of the bag. Here you go, then, as you insist.
Pestilence flicks the crest fragment carelessly towards me as he flits away, vanishing into the darkness. So here I'm going to do both endings here. We'll start with the top one, and then I'll repeat the chapter to read the bottom one. What will you do? Place the crest in the blessed gates, or don't place the crest in the blessed gates? We're going to place the crest this time. I know what I had to do. I will not be shaken. I will fulfill the duty that had been shirked, right the injustice that had been done unto my people, end this madness from the well that it sprung from. I will finish what the betrayer could not. I whisper a quiet prayer. As I insert the crest, I hear a horrible groan from behind me. The form that had been sunk into the tar had arisen, stumbling, dripping in the thick, dark ooze, but it was unequivocally, undeniably, alive. Alive with a fiery, deathly vengeance burning in its eyes. The betrayer.
You.
I back away from the macabre sight, but my hand still rests on the crest. With one twist, I could open the gates, yet some deep, deep fear within me had frozen me in place. My breath catches in my throat. My eyes burn as I watch the fire plume out from the back of the betrayer's head.
I will not let you unleash it.
What? Unleash what? The blessings of the gods? A low chuckle rumbles into my ears, humming an unnerving tune. The melodic, gravelly rasp of the pestilence resounds in my head, but I can't make out the words. The betrayer lets out a gurgling scream.
Everything I've tried to protect, doom us all.
It is at this very moment that I feel as if I had made a grave, grave mistake. The betrayer viciously tears at the remnants of the molten bird. From the tar and ooze, a grotesque mount stitches itself together. As if summoned from another world, it roars, screaming back to life. With a body of steel, molten wheels, and breathing fire and smoke, the skull of the raptor grimaces at me. Regret, boiling resentment, fear. It glares at me with tears of fire bleeding from its eyes. It roars again before the betrayer charges at me. There is no time to think. There is no time to think at all. I go to twist the crest to open the gate. In that moment, Far away, I can hear the faint laughter of death. And so the penultimate chapter has come to its end. Thank you, dear Wu Shang. You've worked so hard, coming this far. You must be tired. You've played your part so well. Now it is time for the final act of this play to begin. I have been waiting for this. It is time to end this fate worse than death. To all the people of this world, to all the former peers who stood beside me, to our hero, and to my dear, dear tormented raptor, this will be our farewell. There you go. Now I'll play through it again for the other ending. I'm going to sort of speed through this here till we get to that point. I will say while I'm doing this, since I have the time to do this, while we're here, it's coming back together. Everything's sort of like fitting into place. Things make sense to me. There's definitely a lot of questions here. I'm not going to go theorize and stuff. That'll probably be a different video when I have the time and stuff. But basically, like, things might be confusing at first, but I think everything is as it's supposed to be, essentially. And while we don't have all the answers of, like, you know, why the gods or things like that are the way they are, or like, you know, I think if you keep in mind the idea of apocalypse, like that sort of biblical, fantastical kind, like the slightly biblical kind of fantastical like idea of apocalypse, and the fact that the four horsemen are more of a herald to what is to come, I think things make a bit more sense. Anyway, what will you do? Don't place the crest in the blessed gate. So here's what happens when you choose that option. A deep unease stirs within me. War's plea has shaken me. Something about this feels very, very wrong. The gods had left this world to rot after the blessed gates had not been opened. Perhaps an even more vile curse sleeps behind it. I could not take that chance. What if death had been wrong? Why had she been the only one of the champions who still sought for the door to be open? Had she been lying to me? What could she possibly have known about the gift of the gods? How could she have been so sure? No, I cannot do it. I cannot risk any more danger cursing this world. Perhaps it was only a shadow of a life, but it was a life nonetheless. I cannot risk bringing about an even more dire curse upon this world. I will not damn its innocent people any more than they already have been. But the crest. What do I do with the crest? I cannot let this crest fall into anyone else's hands. The crest seems to burn even hotter in my hands, erupting into flames, yet they do not burn me. I stare at the bright flames. Pure power flows through me, coursing through my body. A glorious sensation of rejuvenation. The years of hard labor, a lifetime of suffering, my days of travel have worn on my body and mind, but it feels as if I had been reborn entirely. No aches sting my limbs. My mind is clear. I feel 1,000 lifetimes of wisdom, past, present, and future, fill my mind. The ancient history of the world, the divine knowledge that has driven countless prophets mad, the sunset skies of a future that had not yet come to pass. I hardly notice as a circle of light engulfs my entire being. Radiant rings spin around me. I remember everything that has ever been forgotten. I know of all beings that are yet to be born. I see across all timelines. The rings spin even faster. Wings flare from the circle of light. I cannot see them. I just know they have. I see it now. I see the truth. I know the plan of the gods. Some space far away, I can hear a distant shattering noise. Something is happening, thousands of lifetimes over. Countless futures ago, infinite paths ahead. But it is a mere annoyance. I feel an indomitable will flow through me. This power is my own. This power, I will cleanse the world with it. All of its evils I will bathe away in fire. A gentle breeze dances in the air again. A wayward leaf lands in my outstretched hands. I am in the field by my hometown once more. Tears stain my cheeks as I lie in those soft grasses. The songbird sings a song in a language I can finally understand. Hail the liberator of the world. I will be their savior. I will be their hero. I hear a horrible groan from behind me. The form that had been sunk into the tar had arisen, stumbling, dripping in the thick, dark ooze, but it was unequivocally, undeniably, alive. Alive with a fiery, deathly vengeance burning in its eyes. The betrayer.
You.
I back away from the macabre sight, but my hand still rests on the crest. With one twist, I could open the gates, yet some deep, deep fear within me had frozen me in place. My breath catches in my throat. My eyes burn as I watch the fire plume out from the back of the betrayer's head.
I will not let you unleash it.
What? Unleash what? The blessings of the gods? No. I think I finally understand.
Everything I've tried to protect. Doom us all.
It is at this very moment that I feel as though I have learned the truth. All this time you have been branded as the betrayer. But the betrayer does not stop to listen. The betrayer viciously tears at the remnants of the molten bird. From the tar and ooze, a grotesque mount stitches itself together, as if summoned from another world. It roars, screaming back to life. With a body of steel, molten wheels, and breathing fire and smoke, the skull of the raptor grimaces at me. Regret, boiling resentment, fear. It glares at me with tears of fire bleeding from its eyes. It roars again before the betrayer charges at me. There is no time to think. There is no time to think at all. I clutch the crest, and I rage. It seems I was wrong about him then. I thought he had the resolve. And instead, he falters, just as Raptor did all those years ago. The Maelstrom changes form, but nothing has changed. Thus the wheel of fate turns, crushing us all. So this is a fate worse than death. Will we never be free? And there you go. That is the full story of Brawlhalla Battle Pass 9 Apocalypse. Thank you very much. This, I know, is a long video with chapters in it and everything. But I felt like this was something that needed to be out there in the world, in the Brawlhalla community. I'm glad to be able to provide it. Doing this sort of audiobook thing is a lot of fun for me. So yeah, this is a fantastic story, deeply immersive and enthralling world, and I look forward to continuing to have fun with the items of the battle pass and the missions and everything while it's still here. And I look forward to future stories and future timelines that we will explore in the world, the universe, nay, the multiverse of Brawlhalla. Thank you very much for watching and listening, and until next time, all the best.